Well, good morning and welcome back to another video. Great to be back out, guys. I'm at a new location today that I'm gonna have a look round. Now, I haven't been here before, so I don't know how much there is to photograph in the area, but the main subject obviously that I wanted to photograph first was this waterfall to my left hand side here. Now, I got up nice and early this morning. I was expecting a sunrise, but we didn't get it. It is quite overcast. Now, I actually went down to Pit Meadows. I just wanted to take a look because all the new growth's starting to grow now. We're getting a lot of blossom on the blueberry fields, so I wanted to see if I could incorporate a shot with the blueberry fields, with the blossom on the bushes there, with the mountains in the background, but we just didn't get that sunrise and the light that I was hoping for. So I came away and I've headed to a place called Cliff Falls. Thanks for all your comments on my last video, it's much appreciated. I'm glad you enjoyed the images. Now, I wanted to come to Cliff Falls today to check out this waterfall. Now, there's a lot of waterfalls in this location, but they're really hard to get to because they're deep in the canyon and there's no way climbing down. But this one I've came to here, you actually can get down close to the falls itself. So I'm going to try out some shots. Got some wonderful shapes in the rock formations here, so it gives it a lot of interest. It's a really interesting waterfall, so I'm looking forward to photographing it. Now, like I said, it is tricky. I am on a steep bank here, so getting the images is going to be a bit of a challenge, but I like a challenge. But what a beautiful waterfall it is, it really is. So I'm going to get back, have a look round, get the camera off the tripod, see if I can find a composition, see if I can get a shot today. Just trying to get in a position where you can see it is a really difficult location to photograph. So I'm going to have to do some video and talk you through this composition here. Now, this waterfall's got an extreme amount of interest because of all these shapes that's been cut into the rocks. So I've moved a bit closer with the 24mm to get a nice wide shot of this waterfall to capture all these shapes and the water coming down the waterfall. It's absolutely amazing, it really is. Now, what I've had to do is I've had to get low down to create a little bit of depth and make sure that I capture all these shapes. So what I want to do is, you'll be able to see, I'll put some video up. To the left hand side, we've got a nice curve in the rock and it leads round back into the middle of the frame there. And then you've got another part of rock which leads down over to the waterfall itself, and then you've got all these lovely interesting shapes along with the water. Now, I've included some of the bottom of the waterfall there to the right hand side, gives it some nice interest in that area, and then it leads over to those boulders over at the, well, not boulders, the bit of rock at the right hand side with that lovely vibrant moss on. Now, it'd be nice to get further down close to the waterfall, but it's too dangerous. It's literally just a shelf and the rock looks quite slippy. So I've made my way up from the canyon. What a beautiful waterfall with all those shapes. It really was amazing. Now, the location I was at, you'll have seen, it was tricky to photograph, so that's why it was hard to do video. But fingers crossed that we came away with something. Now, I put the longer lens on, wasn't really coming across any compositions. It was nice just to include it as a full scene rather than going intimate. It really did make for an interesting waterfall to photograph. Now, I did go back to the waterfall that I photographed in my last video. It was a blue sky day, so I headed up there just to see if I could work on the composition that I took. Now, because of last time I said about anticipating the light, I actually knew that the sun was going to come up in that location. So I tried a different composition and I'll put that image up and I hope you like it. I was really pleased with the way it came out, being able to include the full scene, and then we had this sun star at the top. So I'm going to head on these trails, we'll see what we can come across. I've never been to this location before, so we might come across something, we might come across nothing. or there could even be images that are worth coming back to next time when we get some better light. Now there's a lot of bears in this area. I have seen a lot of bear signs, so hopefully we don't come across any bears, and if we do, hopefully they're in the distance and they're not close up. So I'll get back, have my coffee, make our way a bit further up these trails. Well, I've been making my way along these trails through this forest. Now the trails in this location, they're vast, they just keep taking off in different directions, so you've got to choose one and see what you see along the way. Now as I've came down from the first waterfall that I've seen, you kind of come out of the canyon and it starts to flatten off. You've still got the embankment that goes down, but you don't have the canyon walls. Now what I'm finding is that the river actually starts to flatten off, and there's not a lot of interest there. There's no height to the river at all, and there's a lot of deadfall down there, so it's quite, it's quite messy, quite chaotic, and it's hard to come across any shots. So I was actually losing hope, but as I've been making way through these trails, adventuring through this forest, I have come across an image that I quite like. It's got a lot of interest. It's going to be an abstract shot, and I really like the way it looks on the back of camera, so I'm going to take you through that composition. Now I hope you like those images back there. It was nice to photograph that waterfall because it had so much interest in the shapes. And I hope you like the other shot of the waterfall that I took at Steelhead Falls. I just wanted to go back because I knew where the sun was going to be appearing. I wanted to go back and take another composition and take another look. So that's something to always do. If you've got an itch to scratch, go and scratch it. So I'm going to get on and we'll take a look at this image. Now it could be the last image of the day today because the forest is quite dense. There isn't a lot of interest in there. There's no old growth trees, so we'll see how we get on. I will venture a bit further up the trails just in case we do come across something, but we'll take you through this image here. So you'll be able to see I've got my camera angled down towards the river to capture this image. Now it is going to be an abstract shot. But I really like the textures in the water and the colour and the shape. When you put the polarizer on, it really deepens the colour that's there below that water. Now I'll put some video up and you can get an idea of the composition that I'm going to go for and the reasoning for why I like it so much. We've got an opening in the tree canopy above, and it's just casting some of the light on the top of the water there, so it's making this thin strip of rapids really stand out. But not only that, because of the rock formation under the water, it's actually caught some of the algae. So you've got these dark areas, and it actually looks like it mimics the rapids as it goes from left to right. Now when I put the polarizer on, it really deepens that colour, and you can see under the water, and it just really makes for a nice, interesting shot. I've gone in nice and tight because we've got some distractions round the edges. That's why I've got over as much as I can to get over the tree branch that's actually going to be in the image. So because I've got a bit further forward, I've managed to get that distraction out the way. And that's what you've got to do when you're taking any shot. If there's any distractions, always be aware of it and try and get round it and get it out the image basically. I want quite a quick shutter speed. I'm getting around about 1/4 of a second to 1/3 of a second, and it's retaining that detail and it's getting the texture that I want. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this one turns out. So I thought I'd come down to the water's edge just to show you how different it looks when you're on the same level as the river itself. Now, to my right hand side, that's actually the rapids that I've just photographed from up above. And it just goes to show, if you move about and create angles, get different perspectives, you can come across images. Now, if I was coming along the river itself, I wouldn't have seen this composition here. So it was actually because I was up above and I put that polarizer on, you could see below the water, see the formations of this rock. You can see the way the waters came down the river and it's carved in these shapes. And the dark edges that I was on about, it's actually a build-up of algae, but that helps with the patterns under the water itself when you put that polarizer on. And the rapids themselves are just being lit by that light from the sky, so they're nice and white and contrasty against the rock below the water there. But you'll be able to see how flat the river is, like I was saying earlier on. There's not as much interest as there was further back there where the canyon was nice and deep and it was a lot more rocky, a lot more dense, and there's a lot of deadfall in this area. So I'm actually going to head back up onto the trails. I just thought I'd share that with you, go a bit further up, see if we can come across any more images. But what a great location it is, it really is. So I've made my way up the river along the shoreline there, and I came across this scene in front of us. It's absolutely amazing, it really is nice. There's so much interest. Now there's a lot I like about the shot, but there's certain things I don't like. You know, it'd be nice if the waterfall was a bit larger. They're just little falls. You'd be able to see behind us in the distance, we've got a little set of waterfalls there. But the reason I want to take it is because of the interest that I've got. Now you'll be able to see we've got these large boulders and they're laden with the mosses. We've got one to your right hand side. We've got a row that leads to a bigger one in the centre of the image. So everything's going towards these little rapids here. Now we've got a load of boulders here to the left hand side. It's got all those mosses on, and there's an old part of a trunk leaning up against it. Now because it's got some moss on, it's got some interest, so it doesn't look too messy. The only thing I don't like about it is the shillies at the other side. There's like a little bit of a beach. It'd be nice if it was undergrowth and grasses and ferns. As your eye wanders through the scene, you've got some lovely trees. Now I'm going to include some of the foliage behind, above there, because it's all catching that light. Now you'll be able to see over there, we've got part of the canyon wall. It's nice and dark, but beyond that we've got the foliage again, and it's catching that light. So it's all them lights and dark. It's working really well for this shot. Now when you put the polarizer on, it takes that glare off the water, and it's just a nice scene, it really is. It is an image I'm going to return to for definite when we get some sunlight in here, some nice soft light. But with the ambient light, I'm sure it'll still make for an image we'll just have to see. So I'm going to head back over to the shoreline here, make our way back to my bag and get set up for this shot, and we'll see how it works out. Just had to wait for those horses to go past, people out enjoying the day. Now that's what I've done today. I've really enjoyed myself. We've been at a new location. I got to share it with you, and that's what it's all about. You know, I can imagine in this area, I've always said it, if you get some nice atmospheric conditions, some nice light coming in, I reckon there's a bag full of images to be had here. So I'm really excited to come back here on a different day. We didn't have the best light today, but we got to check out new areas, and that's what it's about. Try out compositions, see if the images work, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they look like when I get back. And we got to see a new location, so it's been brilliant. But I have decided to go back to Vancouver. We've lost that light, not that we had any light today, and it is forecast rain tomorrow, so I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. It's a location I'm going to return to, just like Steelhead Falls. I went there the other day. I knew where the sun was going to come up, so I grabbed another composition and I got another image with the sun star above the waterfall itself. So that's why it's important to just keep going back. You know, don't go to a location a couple of times. Go back as many times as you need to get the image that you're after. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Give it a thumbs up, it's much appreciated. And don't forget to leave a comment below. I always read through your comments and I always reply. It's just nice to see what people want to see in my videos. If you haven't seen my videos before and you're new to my channel, hit the subscribe button. I get to show you more of British Columbia. But from me and Cliff Falls, until next time, thanks again.